We don't do a lot of these. Actually, it's the first one. But when the occasion demands it, you bring the legend right back.
100K subscribers on YouTube, right? What does that mean to you?
It just signifies the support from the fan base, man, and it's been tremendous.
How confident are you in this Knicks team from a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd say a 6.
Do you think that the Knicks will play down to the Hawks level, or can they just get them out here with a sweep?
You know, those guys are veterans, man, with Jalen, Josh, all those guys that have been here with this team and been here last year, that same core, they remember what that felt like. I was kind of surprised, like when they handed him the keys and moved Trae Young out of there, he took off. And he is their point guard if you want to keep it real. So, look, they're going to have a tall order on their hands, but I think the Knicks are going to show up.
What do you give the series?
If Cat does what he needs to do and goes out there and dominates, I don't see the Hawks having any chance in this game. If the Knicks are going to be winning the possession battle and Brunson and Towns are going to be having their way, there's no chance for the Hawks.
Yeah.
The Knicks will win the championship if...
One word?
No. Phrase. This one's a phrase. What does getting to this milestone tell you about trusting your own vision?
The answer is right there, right? Consistency. But I just never really applied it.
Right.
You know, and when I started this, I said, you know what? I'm going for the consistency.
Right.
Never stopping. And let me just see what happens.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, right? My highs and lows inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement. Last
What's
flight
going
out.
on, man?
Let's flat out.
Welcome back to the Last Flight Out podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay. Y'all know the rules. Like, subscribe on all the platforms. We're streaming everywhere, video and audio, at Last Flight Out Podcast. And on social media, you can find me at If Mike Was Here. You can also find Jay at
JLubriel26 across all of my socials. Today's a very special episode, a part 2, a reunion, a homecoming. And we don't do a lot of these. Actually, it's the first one. But when the occasion demands it, you bring the legend right back. Our guest today doesn't need much of an introduction. Honestly, he's earned the right to walk in without one. But we're going to do it anyway because we have respect for him like that. He's the founder and host of Knicks Fan TV, the #1 show by the fans for the fans. Since the last time he sat across from us, a lot has happened. His platform has grown, our platform has grown, the Knicks have grown, and now we're on the eve of the NBA playoffs. But first, 100,000 subscribers. We're talking about a man who built something from the ground up, who bet on himself, who kept showing up when not everybody would, and who now has a 6-figure community that shows right back up for him. Ladies and gentlemen, for the second time on the podcast, CP the Fanchise.
My gosh.
Welcome back. Welcome back,
man. So this is very apropos that we had you back for part 2, to talk about the Knicks, to talk about the playoffs. But before we jump into that, we want to give you your flowers, man. Congratulations on the nuptials.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations on the 100K subscribers. Huge milestone. So
Yeah.
we're going to jump right into it.
Let's get right into it. 100K subscribers on YouTube, right? What does that mean to you? What does that number signify?
Man, it just signifies the support from the fan base, man, and it's been tremendous. Whether it's digitally, when you see all the same people on the show day in and day out, the same names. Chuck D being the most notable in the chat before you even start the show. But again, like the same names, and then you go out to every city, whether it's here in New York at the Garden or maybe it's Atlanta, Miami, and it's those same people that you're seeing year in and year out. So it really just speaks to the support. Nowadays, especially in this content generation cycle, like the number is more of a vanity metric, right? But it's still, to me, it's deep, man, because it just speaks to the consistency. We've been bringing it every night, and the audience has been there for us every night. So we're appreciative.
No, absolutely. And I mean, look, I'm replay gang almost like 95% of the time.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to catch the live streams, just depending on what I'm doing. But it's, like you said, maybe the number is the vanity point, but the engagement that you have, like the super chats, the likes, the reposts. I'm like, this guy has insane engagement from the community, because a lot of people have big numbers, right? But not everybody has the engagement of the fans, right? So,
and that's the thing for me. It was like, because you'll have the people that say, man, you guys should have been at 100, you should be at 1 million and all this. But I think the thing is that, you know, we've always wanted to be relatable. We've always wanted to be authentic. I'm always going to be myself. Like, this is not going to be the platform where, you know, we're jumping over 3 buildings and eating hot sauce and, you know, running down Fifth Avenue and running from, like, that's just not me. That takes too much energy to fake.
Yeah.
But for me, I just said, look, we're going to be ourselves every single day. The people are going to come. Those who are going to leave, hey, that's okay, because there will be more as well. So
we also invite the crash outs on your platform.
that's right.
There's so many crash outs. Bro.
Yeah, shout out to Ari.
In sometimes just for the end.
Yeah.
You leave the crash outs for the end.
Leave the crash outs for the end, man.
But it is an absolute joy to have watched you grow, man. Thank you for being part of our story, and you know the way we support you by tuning in, going to some of your watch parties has been absolutely incredible. But the last time you sat down with us and we talked about when you started Knicks Fan TV, the 17 and 65 season, did you think that 100K was actually realistic? That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, now that the Knicks are actually a great team, or born like whatever, good, great, whatever, however you want to characterize it, does it make creating content for them easier, or was it a lot? Is it like, what does it do for you now that they're actually at the
No, I always believed in the platform, man. I always believed that the people were going to come eventually, as long as I learned how to make the content, how to present the content, how to distribute the content. I always knew that the numbers were going to come, because there was truly nothing like it. And when you looked at the mainstream, there really wasn't anything there that was dedicated to the diehard night in and night out. So it just took that consistency, dedication, patience.
Right.
You know, I wasn't chasing it. I just knew that ultimately, with one tells the other and one tells the other, it compounds exponentially. And so it's just a matter of time. Now, with the team being good, it's definitely easier to make content. Right? Because, you know, people are just tapped in. The expectations are high. The team is on a high. You're winning more games, so people are in a better mood. You're in a better mood. Everybody's spirits are lifted. And also, as we've grown, so has our relationships. And I always look at that as a snowball effect. From the first guest, our first ever guest, and he's still with us now, Tommy Beer from Forbes magazine. That was our first ever guest. And from him, we took that interview, sent it to the Knicks, took those 2 interviews, sent it to the Knicks, and, you know, just this giant snowball, a Rolodex of contacts and relationships has formed since then.
Yeah. So you've been on various platforms. You've been on ESPN, Sports NY. Does this number now, is this something where it gives you leverage, or do you think the respect is always there, or what does that signify? And I just want to point out, your 100K is a real 100K. Like, when we put your episode out there, the interactions were insane. It's like, oh, like these are real. And now that me and Jay, we've been content creating for a few years now, we know the difference. Even if someone says, oh, I got 1 million followers and all, it's like, it's probably dead followers, you know. When your followers, it's really 100K.
For sure,
you know?
for sure. Yeah, I think as we've grown, and again, as our relationships have grown, more doors are going to open up for you. That's just naturally. Now, is it universal? No, I think some people, there are gatekeepers in this industry, and that just comes with the territory. I'm used to it. And so, you know, sometimes you knock on those doors, you get no answer. Sometimes you get no's, and people don't believe in it just yet. And that's the fuel. That's the gasoline that continues to drive us and keep pushing us. But we just know that what we're doing is something of substance. It's constructive dialogue. And I can't tell you guys, I've been saying it, like, so many places I go and people say, man, you brought me out of this dark place. And that means something. You know what I mean? It's deeper than the team. It's bigger than the team. Like, we're actually doing something to uplift people. And that's what I'm most proud of.
Honestly, like, your show, I'm replaying again for a selfish reason, because, you know, I start very early morning. So it's like part of my morning routine, right?
Yeah.
So it's like sort of just, not that I'm in the dark place or anything like that, but it's like good to have something to look forward to, right? Like, and for someone who's a diehard Knicks fan like me, I just want to hear to somebody who can present the information in an entertaining but truthful perspective, right? Like, I don't mind the entertainment, I don't mind the crash outs, but there's some truth even behind the crash outs sometimes, right? You hear too many clickbait stories, which we'll get into later on in the episode, but it's just sort of like lost me. So I think the independent content creator route is something that I relate to more, not just being a fellow content creator myself, but also I think there's a lot more authenticity behind it,
For
right?
sure.
Because now in the, like you said, it's oversaturated now. not that the Knicks are good, I'm sure there's a bunch of Knicks channels that pop up on the algorithms like, who are these people, right? And everybody's just trying to stand out in one way or another. But you've stood out through being authentic and being persistent and just consistent with everything that you've put out, man. So flowers out to you. But without mentioning their flowers, you always say the community. Who do you have? Is anybody you want to like give a special shout out to? Who are the flowers that you should give? Not to like sort of isolate anybody, but who would you give flowers to get to this point?
Oh man, well, at the top of the list, my family, man, 1000%. You know, that's not cliche. Like to this day, like almost on a daily or every other day, my aunt will call me like, I just handed out 2 more business cards in Brooklyn. I got this guy, I got this guy. Kid you not, every other day, and I'm so proud of that because my aunt is one of the people who got me into the Knicks. And so now when they see me build this platform from the ground up, you know, my parents, my aunt, my sister, my wife, my son, like everybody, you know, they're sharing it. They're telling the gospel. They're recruiting people. They're sharing those stories. So them for sure. Chuck D. I always talk about Chuck D of being a mentor to me, just like he's been to so many of the culture. And that was like deep for me, you know, getting his cosign earlier on in the game and to have his support now. And then also Ian Begley.
Yeah.
Ian Begley from S&Y. Like when we talk about the mainstream platforms, Ian Begley and S&Y, they were the first platform to embrace us, to bring us in, to bring me in as a co-host and a panelist, to bring me in studio. You know, my first in-studio appearance was with Ian Begley and S&Y, getting that contract. So, you know, I can't thank him enough for that.
Yeah, and he's always on your show. You go on his show sometimes.
Absolutely, that's my guy.
It's like sort of like just paying it forward, right? And it's always nice to see people paying it forward. Like you said, there are gatekeepers. Me and Mike have definitely experienced that on our own journey. And we just don't understand why. Like we don't get it, but we know it's part of the game, right? And it's just sort of that fuel, right? There's people who probably thought that we wouldn't be here this far, but we're here 3 years later, and you know, we count all our blessings. To have you back on the show just speaks volumes that you know, like the first interview, so you're back for the second interview, man. But thank you so much for everything.
For sure.
Yeah. And 100K, what's next?
Yeah.
The platform.
Man,
where do you go from here?
You know, the biggest challenge in getting this far is scaling farther, because the things that I handle on a day-to-day, you could argue, is the full-time job of several people. Like making content itself is a full-time job. Going out there and building the business, from the sponsorships to the brand deals to the events, is another full-time job. Being a dad, being a husband, like, and a family man is a full-time job, right?
You signed a lifetime deal, no play.
You signed a lifetime deal, and there's only so much time in a day. And so, you know, my time is definitely stretched thin. That's the biggest challenge in terms of building that business and pushing it forward. But, you know, I got a lot of support from my family, man. And what's next is definitely going to be the network, scaling out the Fanchise Sports Network for sure, with like-minded creators, you know, like Knicks Fan TV, like Last Flight Out podcast, you know, and just taking it forward, man, and building out on those different revenue streams, because as I said, it takes a lot to build those out, but we haven't even reached the tip of the iceberg in terms of building out those processes for each one of those revenue streams.
Hey, I know that you do sometimes like guests on like some of your shows for the post game analysis. If you want to bring me and Mike on a lonely Tuesday night in the middle of summer against the Memphis Grizzlies, we'll be happy to do it. Chop it up with you.
Yeah,
right? But moving on to the Knicks, man. Okay, so this is the part of the show that Mike has apparently prepared for, and he, like, you know, Mike, like a lot of the people in my life, this is when they lock in, right?
Yeah,
So they listen to all the headlines of what's happened with the Knicks, and Detroit this, and Atlanta this, and the Cleveland that. So honest assessment from your perspective, this year's team versus last year's team, better, more dangerous? What was your assessment of the season? Because from my perspective, it was a roller coaster of a season, right?
Yeah.
Just emotionally, we got off to the hot start, 23-9. We won the playoff cup. Then January happened where the sky was falling. Then we beat Denver. Then we went a whole month without beating a team over 500, and then we ended the season strong. But just from your perspective, comparing this year's team versus last year's team.
Look, I think this year's team, despite all of that and the roller coaster, as you mentioned, still finishing with north of 50 wins, third in the East. Yes, I would have liked to see them be first or even second. But I think by and large, under a new coach, new system, a couple of new players here and there, some players in and out due to injury, I thought this team did fairly well.
Yeah.
And look, this Knicks team, their evaluation is going to come not during the regular season, but in the postseason to pick up where they left off and go further than where they finished, which is the 2 games short of the NBA Finals, which they could have easily been in had they sealed the deal in the first 2 winnable games. Look, I thought last year there was similarly a roller coaster for them. Yeah. They had those times of turmoil, Mikal Bridges calling out Tom Thibodeau, and they had those same situations where you questioned where's their effort, where is their intensity, where is their focus. Sometimes they let it go, but we saw in the playoffs they turned that switch on. And it's not to say that, you can lean on that, because they said themselves, you definitely don't want to lean on that. But I think the talent is still there with Jalen being a primetime player performer. I like the way that Karl Anthony Towns finished the season. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges as well. I thought they contributed very well this year. And their bench, with Mitchell Robinson leading the helm, like this is still a good, talented Knicks team. And we're going to see what happens come the first round, man.
Yeah.
All right. So clearly we got 2 Knicks fans here, right? I'm a basketball fan in general.
Yeah.
So I caught up now, I'm in playoff mode, right? So I'm looking at the whole landscape. First round, we got Atlanta Hawks, right? Because I'm with the Knicks. I'm here in the city. I'm with the Knicks. I'm coming to the party, right?
Yeah, I know it's tight, man.
Trae Young is no longer there. I saw the last game when they played the Hawks. It was a tight one. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think the Knicks have the drive to take this home, just get them out, sweep this playoffs? I like how Cat plays against the Hawks. He's 60, he's averaging 60, 50, and 90. So 60 field goals, 50% three-point percentage, and then the 90% free throws. Now, do you think that the Knicks will play down to the Hawks level, or can they just get them out here with a sweep?
I think if they remember what happened where they left off, they have no choice but to turn up the gas and put their foot on their necks, because if not, then you can't really consider them a true contender.
Right.
And I think they will. Those guys are veterans, man, with Jalen, Josh, all those guys that have been here with this team and been here last year, that same core, they remember what that felt like. They remember
what it felt like.
Right. And so, look, that Hawks team, they are good. They're an athletic team. Yeah. And they rely on that speed, that athleticism. And Jalen Johnson has really turned into a primetime all-star, all-NBA caliber player. And I was kind of surprised, like when they handed him the keys and moved Trae Young out of there, he took off, and he is their point guard if you want to keep it real. So look, they're gonna have a tall order on their hands, but I think the Knicks are gonna show up starting game 1, man. They're not playing down to the competition.
Just to put a bow on that question, I think for me, at least from a fan, it's gonna tell me a lot about this playoff run based upon this first series. If we do what we're supposed to do, get them out in 4 or 5, whatever. I don't want no 6, no game 7. I just want them to handle business. They're a good team, but we are the dominant team here. We're supposed to. There's nobody who could see Cat. They have no Jock Landale. They have nobody in the middle. Just feed Cat, get him involved early, and let Jalen Brunson finish it in the 4th. So this playoff, for me, from a fan's perspective, as somebody who doesn't cover the team every day like yourself, for me, I just want to see what they do in the next 10 days. And I just want them to dominate this team and move on. But moving on, to the coach, right? So Tom Thibodeau's out, Mike Brown is in. So what have you seen? Has that been a positive impact for the team? From your perspective, was the coaching, now that we've had a full year under Mike Brown, was the coaching change actually quite good for the team? Or is it, again, it's still going to be sort of determining, subject to how we do in the playoffs?
It'll definitely be determined in terms of how they do in the playoffs, but make no mistake, I think we saw the unique aspects of Mike Brown's coaching ability. Number one, in how he utilized the bench this year. He went deeper into the bench. You saw guys like Kolek and Diawara emerge. You saw him not be afraid to bench guys like Mikal Bridges in the 4th quarter, opting for Landry Shamet. And, sometimes, you had like Mo Diawara, you had Deuce McBride finishing games. And so, he experimented a lot with that lineup. And I think you have to expect that with a new coach, and versus under Tom Thibodeau, who's kind of set his template, he set his style, he knows the guys that he's going to go to and when he's going to go to them. But offensively, their 3-point shot died, their 3-point attempts went up. I thought their ball movement and their player movement was definitely better, has definitely been better under Mike Brown. And now we're going to see come playoff time, will he make the proper adjustments And how will he push those buttons if McCall's not performing? Will he lean to Shamet? Will it be, when will he go to him? Yeah. Like he's gonna have a tough job because you could imagine after every loss, people are gonna be wondering, why didn't you play so-and-so? Yeah. Why didn't you play Deuce at this point? Why didn't Tyler Kolek come in to give you some playmaking, or Jose Alvarado versus Jordan Clarkson? He's gonna be asked those questions. And so I don't envy Mike Brown at all in this playoff run.
Yeah. Nice. What are the expectations as the Knicks fan community for this year? Is it getting to the championship or is it winning the championship?
I think it's definitely getting to the championship.
Okay.
You have to give OKC their respect. It's hard to see many teams toppling that OKC team. They're just way too deep, and Shea playing at an MVP level, naturally you're going to have to consider them the favorites. Now, if the Spurs get them up out of here, let's go Knicks. Let's go.
That's the one thing I'll concede. My friends ask me, like, unfortunately for us, anything less, for me personally, less than a finals appearance is a busted year. I think I went back to like your first episode of the season. I think that's the expectation. Finals or bust. If we get there against OKC, yes, I'm going to put my Knicks glasses on. I'm going to be like Knicks in 7 or whatever it is. But it's hard to dethrone the champs because they're an incredibly deep team, and I don't see a lot of teams matching up with them. But I feel very confident against Denver and the Spurs, right? Because those are the type of teams that we do well against. Half-court team, half-court offenses. But it's just sort of about the coach, going back to the coaching scheme, there were some games this year that I saw, at least from my perspective, where I'm like, the only rational way I can talk about the coaching scheme is that Mike Brown's holding stuff, right?
Yeah.
That was the only rational explanation as to why certain things went down in like sort of like clutch moments. Like there's certain things he's not showing.
Yeah. Do
you think that there's going to be some wrinkles in the offense and the defensive schemes?
Yeah, I do. And he mentioned it. He mentioned it at the beginning of the season. He said, look, in the beginning, I want these guys relying less on plays and more on just getting used to playing with each other, playing off of instinct. It's basketball at the end of the day. And he did say that during the playoffs, I will look to sprinkle in some newer plays, which to me is ideal because when you're playing a team 3, 4, 5 times, like if they would have seen the Raptors in the first round, they would have already played 5 times already, including all those NBA Cup games. So you have to be able to sprinkle in something new because by the time you get to the playoffs, you know what they want to run, they know what you want to run, and then it becomes, you put it in the hands of your best players to just make a play, a better offense over good defense. But I do think he's going to sprinkle that in. And, what's going to be interesting this year is where Tom Thibodeau didn't really rely on the advice or the consultation from his coaching staff. I think Mike Brown all year has, whether it's Rick Brunson, Chris Gent, the offense coordinator, Brendan O'Connor, the defensive coordinator, he's taken the input from those guys and implemented it. And so it's going to be interesting to see, kind of by committee, how they make those adjustments throughout the course of a playoff series.
Yeah.
How do you see the Knicks tackling, I guess, 2 issues that I see with the Knicks where I'm like, okay, how do they get to a championship is when Cat plays a team that's physical, are you confident that he can overcome that? And then also when you have these long playoff series, we know Jalen Brunson is Mr. Clutch, right? Who else do you think can step up and fill that role?
Yeah, well, I mean, in that light, it's where they have to lean on their depth. We know Brunson is going to deliver.
Yeah.
The most 40-point game since 2022 in the playoffs, a 30 points per game playoff riser. The Knicks being the most clutch fourth quarter team in the league this year.
By a large margin.
By a large margin. He's going to get them there, but he can't do it all by himself. So some of the things I'm going to be looking at, just even to start games, is Mikal Bridges going to bring the ball up sometimes? Is Josh Hart going to bring the ball up sometimes? Will they run offense through Karl Anthony Towns a little bit more in that high post and allow Brunson to play a little bit off ball? You still want the ball in your best player's hands, but they've got to get him to the Eastern Conference Finals and beyond. And each round you go through, it's an endurance test.
Yeah.
You saw where he was visibly worn down by the time he got to that Pacers series. We already know his ankles ain't all that great, right? So
I can relate.
Right. And so to me, I'm looking at Karl Anthony Towns. OG Anunoby could be a big-time factor here. They're 23-4 when he scores northwards of 20 points this year. When he's above 18 points per game and about 50% shooting, their winning percentage is up. When he's around 13 and below 50%, winning percentage is way down. And so I'm going to be interested to see how he plays, because a lot of his game comes from the corner three. You know, in the playoffs, teams are going to be taking that away. They're going to be running him off that 3-point line. So he's going to have to put the ball on the floor, make a play, make a quick decision, and get some buckets there as well.
OG with handles, man, that makes me nervous.
It's a little shaky.
It's a little shaky. It's like cat coming from the top of the key,
That's right.
dribbling down.
That's
You're
right.
like, oh,
That's
man,
right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
it's a okay. So going into the playoff series, and we're holding you to this. How confident are you in this Knicks team from a scale of 1 to 10? Getting to the finals.
Getting to the finals, I'd say a 6, because you still have to respect Detroit right now. Even though they are inexperienced, I want to see who emerges for them as a secondary shot creator.
Right.
And do they have enough 3-point shooting to carry them? You know, could they get stopped in the second round by a Cleveland team? We don't know. Their inexperience is definitely going to be their Achilles heel. But should those teams both meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think Detroit is a very difficult matchup for the Knicks. Yeah. You know, starting at the point of attack with Cade Cunningham. I mean, the way that he shredded the Knicks in the Garden in their final matchup, it was just one of those out-of-body experiences that
it's a masterclass.
It's a masterclass.
And I hate saying that, but it was a masterclass.
Yeah, it was a masterclass.
I think Tyrese Maxey was the only other masterclass this year where I was like, damn, that he came in and shredded us.
And then the way that, you know, they can attack Jalen between Asar Thompson, Ron Holland all night. He's going to be running for his life, man. Those guys are premier wing defenders. And as you said, with the wing matchup against Cat, they can put Tobias Harris on him, and it might be a little tricky versus even putting Durant, or if Isaiah Stewart playing Isaiah Stewart. So I think the way that Detroit attacks the Knicks, it's a difficult matchup because it forces them to put the ball on the floor, and their lack of playmaking is and ball handling is one of their biggest weaknesses.
I have a friend who I work with who's from Detroit. He's like, bro, I want the Knicks to beat Boston.
Sure.
I'm sure. They want to see us.
They want that.
They want
it.
that.
Yeah.
They want all the smoke. And I think equally speaking, we should want that smoke.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
I know we're media trained and we can only say certain things as the players, but you know they have to. I hope they have in the locker rooms like, yo, we have to run through all these things because we need to get to Detroit.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So, but before we get to Detroit, first round, you know, everybody's talking about Atlanta. It's just like how Mike mentioned, right? Like it's like Vegas's most upset pick for the first round. You think that's just like, I'm tired of the clickbait, Knicks for clicks. Do you think there's any credence to that?
No.
Or is it just national, just trying to get viewers? Like, because we can't help ourselves.
It's a conversation piece, man. That's all it is. On no planet can anybody seriously think that. I'm not saying it's impossible. Nothing is impossible. But based on just analyzing the game and looking at these two teams, I don't see how anybody can objectively say that the Hawks will beat the Knicks in this series.
So what do you give the series? What's going to be the spread, I guess?
I'd be surprised if it goes past 5 games.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
The same way, Nick.
They don't have any answer for Cat. Jock Londale doesn't play to give them, you know, those extra scrappy points. If Cat does what he needs to do and goes out there and dominates, I don't see the Hawks having any chance in this game. I don't think that they can compete offensively with the Knicks. If the Knicks are playing their game defensively, limiting the mistakes, controlling the boards with Cat and Mitchell Robinson, which means winning the possession battle. If the Knicks are going to be winning the possession battle and Brunson and Towns are going to be having their way, there's no chance for the Hawks.
Yeah.
There's none.
All right, so we go to the second round. We assume Boston gets to the second round, right? How do you think the Knicks match up there? Is this an easy one? Or
No. Never easy, with especially with Jaylen Brown and Tatum. I mean, Jaylen Brown, he's playing at an all-star, all NBA and MVP level.
Yeah,
I mean, he was tremendous this year in taking over that team when Tatum was gone. Everything leveled up. You know, his ball handling was one of his weaknesses. He leveled up there. His playmaking, like, he did everything.
Right.
And he's one of those guys I really admire just because you get to see his off-season regimen, and he's doing new things. He's in the pool. He's in the, you know, bionic chamber and all that. You know, he's doing all that stuff. I'm like, yo.
He was working with Chris Brickley, too.
Right. So it's like, you know, he's one of those guys that, when they get the bag, they don't just sit back. Like, he's trying to take it to
He was talking spicy about the Knicks, man.
Oh, he wants it. He wants
it so bad.
Yeah, he wants it.
So I feel like we're in a lose-lose situation, right?
Yeah.
When I talk to me and my friends in our group chat going back and forth, they love just getting me riled up. They're like, you're in a lose-lose because Tatum's hurt. He's not 100%. So you should win the series.
Yeah.
If you lose the series, then how did you lose to Tatum's team? So it's like you can't win either way, right?
Yeah.
They're like, the only way you win is if you get to the finals. That's the only way. And you're meeting expectations. But do you think that plays in the Knicks' favor? I think we match up well against Boston.
I do.
Right?
I do, yeah.
So I think going into the series, it's going to be a war. but I still think give the slight edge to the Knicks because that is not the same Boston team.
Not the same.
Last year's team, in my opinion, was a lot deeper and defensively better.
Yeah.
Right? So they lost KP, Drew Holiday. They lost Al Horford, right? For whatever that counts, right? You just need to lock down Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Pritchard. Those are my main concerns. But are you really depending on Garza, on Hauser coming off the bench, or whoever else they got, right? Like Walsh.
Derek White's not the same guy, man.
He's not.
At least he wasn't this regular season. Playoffs, everything can change.
And Derek White. I forgot about Derek White. Derek White hasn't played well this year.
He has not played well all year.
So maybe he could turn it up. You know, he's a champion. You got to give him that benefit of the doubt. But again, going back to objective basketball speak, that is not the same Boston team, right, in the second round. So going into the second round, saying that the Knicks are going to be a huge underdog, again, I think it's conversation pieces, man, because the Knicks are the easiest team to hate.
Easy to pick against.
You go every day on ESPN, there's a Knicks piece every day. And you got OKC, who's the defending champs, and people don't talk about them every day.
Yeah.
But the Knicks, it's every
day. Yeah, more than OKC. More than OKC.
Every day, right? So I don't understand it. One, because we can't help ourselves, for sure. But going into the second round, assuming we get past Boston and now we're in Detroit land, those 3 games against Detroit this year was straight dog walk, right? So what are your keys to us actually winning that series? Because that's going to be an absolute all-out war. World War 3, right? Because the way that Kate Cunningham played us, and especially that whole team, you can tell those guys had a chip on their shoulder which I was disappointed we weren't ready for. The first game that we got washed, fine. The second game whenever we played after the All-Star break, I thought we'd be way more prepared there.
Yeah.
And we got washed even worse worse than the first game. So what are some of your keys to that matchup? Not looking too far ahead, but just sort of like, it's hard not to think about that because they can very easily be in the ECF.
Yeah. Well, the key for sure is, one, trying to get the ball out of Cade's hands. You're going to have to force these other guys to make tough shots. That's not going to be an easy thing to do. But what was noticeable in the 3 losses against Detroit, number one, the way that they win the possession battle, it's you turning over. And they take those points, those turnovers, and turn those into efficient points. You have to be careful with the ball. It's easier said than done because they are ferocious at taking the ball away. Right? When we saw them, sometimes the Knicks will get sloppy and they're just throwing it, and you're like, yo, who are you throwing it to? No, Detroit will take it from you. Yeah. They will block that shot, pin the ball against the rim, and then Cade's off to the races. Right. So you have to be very careful with the ball movement, with the decision making, and they're gonna force you to take tough shots, man. The way that Asar, he can go from Brunson, run and trap this guy, come back, recover at the rim. No shot is gonna come easy. So it's gonna force the Knicks to make some tough shots, because if you let Detroit control the boards and win the turnover battle, they're a very hard team to beat.
Right. And from your perspective, why do you think, because my prediction, I was going back to see what my predictions were to all my friends. I predicted 53 wins because I gave everybody saying 55. I thought it was like 53 is going to be I thought we would be first in the East. Why such a huge jump from Detroit going to, what were they, 44 wins or something like that, 46 wins to 60 wins this year? What did you see in their game in the way that we didn't have a similar huge jump? Maybe was it, which is just consistency. A lot of their secondary role players just stepped up. Like what did you see?
Well, for one, I think JB Bickerstaff deserves a ton of credit. He's going to be in line for that Coach of the Year, and he's definitely gone through his war wounds, and he deserves a lot of credit with that team. But then when you look at that team, you look at the roster, it's loaded with lottery talent, man. I mean, guys with taller ceilings than a lot in the league. And so I literally look at every single lottery pick that they had, from Cade, Jalen Duren, MIP, Asar got even better. Ron Holland, he's only 20 years old, 21 years old. He's gotten better. Then you look on the bench, they picked up Dennis Jenkins from St. John's on a 2-way deal. And my man was one of the best backup point guard. Cade's out. Dennis Jenkins is running the show. He's closing games for them, making big shots. So, we didn't even mention Isaiah Stewart. He's barely there with injury, and other times he's barely there because he's fighting. So
he's always scrapping.
He's always scrapping.
You know what? He'd do great on the Knicks, though.
Yeah.
He was ever on the Knicks team for sure.
But he shot the 3-ball well when he's out there. Duren has shot well. So I just think overall, they're just talent just improved from within.
Yeah. If Asar ever developed a shot, that would be a problem. A real problem. Yeah. But
where do you think the Knicks are from it being a guaranteed we're championship ready?
It's going to take a Herculean effort, man. I don't think it's like, you can't really state the piece, because they're not in a position to go out there and add on without subtracting a lot, like the Giannis thing. You can't just bring Giannis in. The draft picks aren't there, for one, and contractually, you have to aggregate a couple people. And we just talked about the Thunder. We talked about Detroit. They're loaded with depth.
And they just got another first-round pick.
And they just got another on their night off, on their day off.
Right. Sam Presti is the genius of all time, bro. Like
on their day off from winning. They took a break from winning and won some more. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. So
because the new switch, right, in the lottery?
Because the Clipper
that Clipper deal is still cash. They are still cash.
That's crazy.
They're just gonna get even deeper.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a deep draft.
They are still cashing out. But I think if this squad is going to do it, they have to become, as I talked about with OKC and Detroit, that ferocious defensive team that can turn those turnovers into easier offense, because in the playoffs, when the game slows down and you're in the half court, you're not always going to be hitting those threes at a high clip. And so it's going to force you to execute that half court offense, but against more elite defenses, it's going to be tough to come by. And on top of that, the Knicks don't have the athleticism that a lot of these teams have to put pressure on the rim and just attack the basket and make something out of nothing. Yeah. You can see some nights where Cade or even SGA, they might go 10 or 25 from the field, but they're making up the rest of the points with 15 free throws. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The last game that we lost against OKC, when we were actually holding Shea down. He had like 12 points, whatever it was, and then he had like 24 free throws or something like that. I'm like, Jesus, come on.
Right.
They cannot keep calling that whistle on that guy like that. Like, you just blowing him, it's like foul.
Yeah.
How do you defend somebody like that? You can't.
It's crazy.
It's insane. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, not at all. Not at all. But, that's just how I see the Knicks. They just finding more ways to score is through their defense. And that's what I want to see them do, starting with Wingstop with OG, McCall, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, pinning that to the glass and going off to the races. That's how I think they could be a championship team.
So assuming this all goes chalk, right? We get to Boston next round. Boston makes it through, and then Detroit makes it to the ECF and get past Boston. Which series are you looking forward to the most? The Detroit series or the Boston series?
Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit.
That's going to be the one that tells me everything I need to know going into the final.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel like I'm on top of the world if we got on top of them and we beat them the way we're supposed to beat them, and we get into the finals.
100. You feel like Cade is back to 100%?
It's hard to say, man, because he just came back late, So you're gonna have to see how he fares through the first round and through the second round as well.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna do a little quick fire segment now, right? So we're gonna ask you some questions, one word responses or one short phrases. All right. So ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks will win the championship if.
One word?
No. It's phrase. This one's a phrase.
If both Brunson and Towns are averaging northwards of 20 some up.
We saw some of the two-man game come alive at the end of the year. I was like, hallelujah, because we didn't see that all year. So I was like, all right, they're capable of playing the two-man game because everyone else does it. Right?
Yeah.
So
the one player who is a non-negotiable for a deep run is
OG Anunoby.
Okay. The biggest threat that ends the Knicks season is
Cade.
Okay.
Mikal Bridges in the playoffs. Trust or question mark?
Trust.
Okay. Finals or bust, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. These Knicks are built for
the playoffs.
All right, man. I appreciate that. So that was so look, going back to before we ask you the final question, I think for me, I know we asked you who the X factor is, but for me, the true X factor is going to be between two players. I'm going to cop out. I think Mitch needs to come. That's the reason we kept him on ice the whole damn season. Yeah. He needs to show up. And OG. I trust OG a lot more than I do Mikal. We have to trust him, obviously, but I think that OG being the dog, like as you call him, on the defensive end and having to score 20 points a game, I think we're going to be asking him the most of all the players, right? Because he has to defend the best player and produce offensively. Like I don't really expect Brunson to do much defensively. Yeah. Or even, I just want Cat to continue to rebound, but OG needs to be the defensive stopper and he needs to be also a part of the offensive engine. And I think that he's capable of doing it. I'm just afraid when he starts dribbling the ball too much. That's the one thing. If people turn him into a dribbler, that's when I'm like, ugh. But I'm be very interested to see how this playoff run is gonna It's going to go. And honestly, by the time this episode drops, which is either going to be in the middle of the first round or the very end of the first round, is either going to be, it should be 4-1 New York. I don't want it to be 4-2. I don't need, and God forbid we go to a 7-game, right?
Right.
But if we go 5-1, 5 games, I feel pretty good about the team going to the second round.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think with OG, not a lot of credit is given to players, especially in this pace and space era of basketball, who can play on both ends at if you say both ends, above average to elite level.
Right.
And for his defense, it's elite. He should be all defense this year, and his offense
First team.
is above average. Right. He should be first team. So to be that good offensively and then be great defensively,
yeah,
he's worth the money to me, man.
I just want to ask you, man, like, why do people hate this team so much? Like, I just want to ask you, like, because I'm sure you get a couple chirpers on your.
Yeah.
I just, every time I'm in these group chats with people and they come out, John, this, Tyrese Maxey's better than Brunson, or Cage your papa. Look, if you want to say Tyrese Halliburton owns the Knicks, you're allowed to say that because he beat us 2 years in a row. Cool. We'll see him at one point. But we beat Detroit last year.
Right.
Like, why do people forget that? We beat Boston last year. We got to the ECF. People have such dimension when it comes to the Knicks in terms of anything good. And I'm like, the only way that Brunson's going to ever get his respect, because I'm still arguing whether he's a superstar or not. People still think he's barely.
No, I think he's solidified now. He's solidified as
I think
as
so.
clutch. Yeah,
I
he's
think so.
solidified.
Come on, man.
I don't think that's the question.
He's a certified baller in the playoffs. For me,
100%.
playoff performance counts. Like,
Yeah.
James Harden, for as much of a choke artist he did win an MVP, so it's hard to be like, oh, you're not a superstar. But like, Jalen Brunson doesn't come close to somebody choking like that in the playoffs. Right?
Yeah.
You could always depend on him coming through in the biggest moments. But I just don't understand, man. Like, why do people hate this team so much? Like, honestly.
Oh, they take the team for granted. They take it for granted, man. But you know where I started and what I've seen and the amount of trash Knicks basketball that I've seen in a lifetime.
And if you zoom out, we've gotten better every year.
Every year.
We've gotten better.
Every year.
You know what I think too? It's just the perspective as I thought last year was going to be the Knicks year. And do you think this year's easier?
It's always hard, man.
Yeah.
Playoffs are hard. They're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But you know what it is? I think those first 2 games against the Pacers, it brought back so much trauma and so much bad vibes. The Reggie nightmares and the choking and the way that they lost.
Yeah.
Those first 2, I think it kind of erased all the good vibes that had come before that.
Yeah.
So people are kind of waiting for the shoe to fall.
Yeah, and people didn't expect that, especially from Halliburton, how he played.
And they had that game won.
It's crazy.
They had that game won, man.
I remember I stepped away thinking we were good. And I'm watching with somebody in the living room, and they're like, I can't believe we just lost. I'm like, what are you talking about? We just lost.
Yeah.
Because Nembhard decided to turn into prime Steph Curry.
Right.
That's another thing I'm scared of, because we're terrible from defending the 3-point line.
Yeah.
I don't need to see Nickeil Alexander Walker going for 75% of the 3-point line. That's the one concern I have. Will they tighten up the 3-point line?
They have to.
They have to.
They absolutely have to.
They have to. But we'll find out tomorrow. And CP, thank you so much. We have one more question. So 100K followers, right, all the success that you have. We won't ask you a last flat out question because clearly we already asked you that on the last episode. But what does getting to this milestone tell you about trusting your own vision?
Man, it's everything. It's everything. You have to have the conviction. And the thing is like, when I was working in corporate America and you're reading all the self-help books, you're reading all the books from the high achievers, the answers is right there, right? Yeah. Consistency. But I just never really applied it.
Right.
And when I started this, I said, you know what? I'm going for the consistency. Right. Never stopping. And let me just see what happens. That's literally what I said. I said, I'm going for it this time.
And you have a great people that you can leverage against, right? So you have an amazing group of people from Alex to CK who somebody mistaken.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. And everybody who works in the back end creating content, right? You have a partner that supports you. And everything you do, a family that supports you. That goes big too. People
It does.
It's not a one-man mission, right?
No.
Having support is truly what's obviously the most important thing, aside from having your own consistency and drive and ambition, right? But having a support system like that is truly irreplaceable. You can't put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
But CP, why do you don't tell the people where they can find you, things you want to tell the people, and where they can catch you at a watch party? Because this is dropping fairly certain.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube, Knicks Fan TV, all social media platforms under Knicks Fan TV, all social media platforms under CP the Fanchise. No R. For the fans, by the fans. Very easy to know. As you know, during the playoff time, man. The KFTV watch parties it is an experience. As you guys know, it's not just a gathering, it is an experience. So make sure you guys are following us. Sign up for the newsletter as well, so you can get those notifications directly to your email box, man. But definitely appreciate you guys.
I'll take, Mike too. Well, Mike's been asking me. We gotta go to.
Yeah, no, we going. Now I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah, thank you once again for joining us. And thank you for sitting and watching this episode. You can find us at all your platforms, whether it's audio or video, at Last Flight Out Podcast. Once again, I'm your host. You can find me on all your social media platforms at If Mike Was Here. And Jay?
You can find me at JLubrio26. Thank you for tuning in. See you next week, same time, same place. Peace. Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement. Last
What's
flight
going
out.
on, man?
Flat out.